Alright guys, as you can see, we are in the Silverado yet again, and today we're on a mission to go get our LT4. In a previous video, I had covered that the LT4 should be done pretty soon, and I was actually right. I had made a video back in like late October, early November saying that it looks like the aftermarket piston squirters from Katech are out. I think they put on Instagram back like first week of October that the squirters were done. Ken, our engine builder, actually got that just a few weeks after that post came out, and obviously with some holidays and whatnot, he's finally got the engine assembled back and everything's done. So what we have is a 400 cubic inch LT4, has an L8T crank. It's gonna have aftermarket rod and piston. We'll go over that when we get the motor, but yeah, so it's basically stock LT4. We ripped everything out of it except for the block, and we have a cam in it, the L8T crank, the rod and piston, and that's pretty much about it. So we're gonna go grab that now from K&M Engines, make our last payment on that motor, and you guys will see a couple pictures here. I'm actually dropping off a bunch of other parts, and those are going to be our LS9 parts off of the 427. And we will be dropping off those pieces because Ken will be doing the final assembly. So that's going to include the push rods, measuring everything. I basically told him, I'm like, you know, I ran into a bunch of issues on the old 6-liter. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that with the 427. So Ken will basically be fully assembling it from blower to pan, and we're going to dyno it at his shop in the future. And when all that is finished up, we'll obviously have a video for that. But yeah, so let's head up to Ken's place, we'll get the motor, and we'll head back home. Alright guys, we have successfully grabbed the LT4. You guys can see it in the back of the truck. And yeah, so let's head home. So that's always a bit of a process, getting an engine out of the back of a truck, but we did use our Harbor Freight jack, and we used our new air over hydraulic ram. That worked perfectly, kind of exactly like I thought it would. And I actually have had to use it without using the ram, and it pumps up just fine using the manual handle right here. So if you guys are in a situation where you don't have access to an air compressor, it will work just fine with that manual jack. So yeah, you guys can see we finally have the LT4 home. And to address the proverbial white elephant in the room, because it's literally white, this is my better half's new car. We still have her Lexus IS. She picked this up yesterday, actually. She ordered it, geez, like 8 or 9 months ago. So it's been quite the process. But actually, not long after I dropped the LT4 off. But yeah, so we'll be covering that in a future video. That is a 2025 Lexus GX550. I think that's the right name. If the number's wrong, we'll correct it down below. But yeah, so we'll be addressing that in a future video. Back to the content on hand, and that is going to be the LT4. So what we have here is a L8T crank. We have aftermarket rod and piston. So this has a set of DSS Pistons, Molnar Rods, Katech oil squirters, and you guys can also see the camshaft that's back in there. You guys can see up front and below the Texas Speed LS3 timing gear, we have the LME billet plate. That is basically a billet tensioner. You guys know that the LS3 and the LT motors have the same issue. Those stock tensioners like to blow up and basically blow apart. Now there is a aftermarket version that you can do. Katech sells something. I think what it does, I think it kind of bolts here where these bolts go, and it kind of has some kind of aftermarket nylon thing. I don't know. I saw that after I'd already bought the LME piece. This timing chain is actually a C5R chain. That's from Katech. So yeah, we've got a lot of big names in this thing. Molnar, Katech, LME, Texas Speed. I wouldn't say Texas Speed is big, but you know, they're one of only 2 companies that sells this conversion setup. I believe BTR sells a similar setup. It's probably all similar parts. It's just the LS3 timing gear that they've modified a bit, kind of like Texas Speed did. And I think the difference is Texas Speed uses the 3-bolt. You guys can see the 3 ARP cam bolts there. So Texas Speed will use the 3-bolt. I believe BTR uses the single bolt. So I think those are two competing kits out there. As far as the camshaft that's in the motor, that is also from Texas Speed. And you guys can see that down in there. Try to look at it through the lifter bores. So I went with Texas Speed on the camshaft because honestly, guys, there's not a lot of supercharged LT4 truck spec cams out there. And what I mean by that is, if you guys had a Camaro, a CTSV, CT5V Blackwing, Corvette, and for those passenger cars, there's all kinds of different cams out there. You could probably think of 10 different companies. They all make their own cam, or at least they have their own cam profile. When it comes to the truck stuff, there's really only two that I saw out there. There was BTR and there was Texas Speed. BTR, I have nothing against them. I've not really ran any of their products. We may actually end up going with valve springs from them, but their BTR, they are all kind of on the extreme side. They all said will not work with the stock torque converter, you know, basically the stall rating. I was like, yeah, I don't really want a big aftermarket torque converter in a pickup truck. This is my daily. We're only doing this for kind of souping up the daily a little bit. I don't want to go too extreme. And this is kind of where Texas Speed came into plays because they are one of the only few that offer some mild LT4 supercharged truck cams. Basically, I think they call it a PDS blower cam, and it's basically their stage 1. You know, that's what I would call it. So yes, they have stage 2, stage 3. I think their stage 2, you still needed to run an aftermarket torque converter. The stage 1 was pretty much the only one that was mild enough that allowed the stock stall and the torque converter. So that's kind of how we ended up with this Texas Speed PDS stage 1 cam. And so yeah, that was kind of the decision process on the cam. Now you guys might be wondering, well, why is the cam in the motor? When Kent put the larger rod and piston in this motor, the stock oil squirters, I don't think you guys will be able to see them. They're actually down below the cam. When Kent put those in, he actually had the rod hit that squirter. He tried to bend one out of the way just as a test. He asked me about it. I said, go ahead, try it. He bent it, and the only way it would clear is if it squirted the side of the piston, not the underneath. So yeah, that ain't gonna work. And kind of the reason why this project took almost 11 months is because 3 months of that, almost 4 months of that, was waiting for Katech to come out with the aftermarket piston squirters. And so yeah, if you guys can see right below that aftermarket piston in the Molnar rod, you guys can see that aftermarket squirter from Katech. And so like I said, when we called to order them, they were unfortunately re-engineering them, and that took like 16 plus weeks for that to get done, and that delayed this whole project. So Ken has put everything back together. We got the oil squirters in there. There's oil squirters on every single one. Oh, there you guys can see right there. You guys can see the camshaft, the squirter, and the bottom of that piston right there. He checked everything, and everything is within spec, but he did say those aftermarket squirters are very tight. So yeah, maybe if you had a bigger cam or different combo, that may still hit even with the aftermarket squirter from Katech. So yeah, so we have a fully functional aftermarket rod and piston, the Katech squirters, the aftermarket cam, and we're pretty much good to go on this thing. And so yeah, that is basically the LT4 as it sits. That kind of leads to our next question. What are we gonna do with this whole setup? Well, as you guys saw in the previous video, Chevrolet kind of stepped up. They did their little test. My truck passed. We changed the oil to 0W40 instead of 0W20, and that's kind of where we're at. So for right now, all I'm really gonna do is drive the truck as it is, leave it, and we can slowly build this thing up over time. As of right now, GM extended the warranty for the bottom end. What I mean by that is from the crankshaft down, so the main bearings, rod bearings, those are covered up to, I think, 100 or 150,000 miles in 10 years, whatever happens first. But what is not covered is the active fuel management or displacement on demand that's on the top. So, you know, if something happens on that stock motor with the, you know, cylinder shut off and all that, you know, we're kind of hosed. So I don't know, that might be a pain point for future me to decide, but As of right now, I got to make a couple decisions on this thing. Right now, I really want to focus on the Corvette. We got to get that 427 done. As we showed you in the intro to the video, I just dropped off a bunch more parts over to Ken, so he's going to get started on that. The aftermarket liners are in. I think he has to order something for liquid nitrogen. I think what he's going to do is he's going to machine the block out and then freeze those liners and then put them in. Something like that, maybe? I don't know how that all works, but yeah, so he's about to get started on that. The block is clean. I did see that today. Wish I'd taken a picture of it. But if we do decide to start work on it, we've got a lot of expensive parts to buy. One thing is head studs. Those are like $350 from ARP. Luckily, we're not doing a 1/2-inch conversion because I think the LT4s are already 12 millimeter. That's almost a 1/2 inch. But yeah, so ARP head studs, that's like $350. Valve springs, this could be what you guys could recommend on. Should I go with BTR or comp cams? BTR is like $370 for a dual valve spring with titanium retainer. The same kit from comp cams is like almost $1,000. I don't know why it's triple the price, but you know, I'm kind of looking for information. So if you guys could come up with a recommendation, comment down below. BTR or comp cam valve springs. That's one thing. So, you know, $350, say another $350 for the springs. You're $600 there. The next thing would be lifters. We actually have those already. We have a set of the Johnson link bar setup. So same as the Ellis-9, we could stick those in. I need to do push rods, so that's another $100 there. And then you've got the rocker arms. That's one thing I don't own. If it's the shaft mounted, I think the LS style was like $1,000, maybe $1,200. The LT might be a little bit cheaper because it's not all one shaft. It's like individual per cylinder. So shaft here, so there's basically 4 shafts. And so yeah, between rocker arms, valve springs, push rods, and head bolts, guys, we're looking at like at least $2,000 in parts. And honestly, I need to be throwing that at the Corvette. So this thing's kind of like, do we just set it on the back burner, or do we spend a little bit of money, get some parts off of our shelf, get it assembled, and then just do it like that? I mean, honestly, right now, if I just bought the head bolts and the valve springs, I could actually go ahead and get the motor sealed up, at least the top half. I could put the lifters in we have, put the heads on, get it sealed up, put the blower on the top, and call it a day. You know, that might be something that we do, because that would clear up a ton of garage space. I don't know if you guys can see behind me, but you know, the big white elephant in the room, that is taking up where all my space was with the Corvette parts. And right now, I've got stuff everywhere. So maybe we spend a little bit of money, get that shelf cleaned off over there, get the Corvette put back together, and just continue this. But yeah, so I don't know. This thing's just going to kind of sit around for a little bit. But one thing I will do, I am going to get it off the engine stand because that 427 will be done eventually. And I'm going to need that here. And this LT4, I think, will just go under the workbench, kind of like we were saying. So yeah, I think we're going to call this video here. I appreciate you guys watching and watch me ramble for a bit. I apologize for that. But I could use your feedback on the valve springs. Comp cams or BTR, that's kind of my big question. I don't know which one to go with, and let's go from there. Comment down below which one we should use, because like I said, BTR is like $360, comp cams is like $960. I don't understand why there's a $600 difference. Leave your comments down below for that. If you guys want to see more updates on the truck motor, the LT4, the assembling of this thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. There's really nothing on here from this video that I bought on Amazon. So I don't really have much stuff to share there, but check out all the links down below. Maybe we'll include some part numbers for the tools that we use today, and that'll be about it. Oh, also check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. I don't have a lot of LT4 parts on there. We might have a couple, but we mostly have the Corvette stuff, merch, stickers, SS parts, and all that. So check all that out, and that's gonna be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.